So just as an idea for you to have in mind. So the whole idea was this, because I'm very curious on social media and how that affects people today. So I wanted to have a conversation with different women to go over just how those things may or may not impact them, and just overall on how to maintain a positive idea of self-image and positive level of self-esteem. What's one thing that concerns you about your physical appearance?
Based on how that looks, if it's done or not done, it kind of like makes or breaks the way I feel for that day, or like how my outfit looks. So for sure, my hair.
Why is the hair the biggest thing for you? Was it something that stemmed from being younger, or is that that's just the thing that you notice on everybody else first?
I think it's for me from like when I was younger. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I've been around different, I guess, cultural dynamics of people. So I went from being in a very like all white area and being the only Black kid there, where they don't really notice how your hair looks, to going to the opposite extreme where it's all Black kids. So if your hair doesn't look good or done a certain way, like you get made fun of for that. So because of that, I think I'm very like just self-conscious of that, and just wanting it to always look done. It's for me at this point, but I guess it does stem from that. Yeah.
Do you think that you felt more comfortable with your physical appearance when you were around white people? I'm going to skip the political correctness. When you were around white people that didn't really have an understanding of, this is good hair, or this is how like a certain hairstyle may be supposed to look, versus Black people, like they can tell, oh, her tracks aren't right, or hey, his head, he didn't comb his hair, things like that. Did you, or was it just the fact that people were just more aware rather than them making you feel more uncomfortable?
I think when I was younger, I cared a lot more about people's thoughts on that. So for sure, like if I was around more like white people, it didn't really matter, because I knew I could come to school with like my braids kind of grown out and they'd have no idea. But if you do that same thing in a Black area, someone is going to say something about it. So yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Probably my hair, and this is like even before I was into cosmetology. Just growing up, like your hair, if it wasn't a certain way, or if it was like in its natural state, it was unkempt, or it looked like you didn't do anything to it, like you don't take care of yourself. So definitely still now I'm trying to get to the point where I'm okay with it, like not just telling myself, but believing that I'm okay with it. But probably my hair.
Mm-hmm. And mine?
I think I'm more conscious like about my body, because growing up, I guess like a lot of, well, even like going into what you were saying about social media and like the perspective that people put on social media, like I don't feel like I was always like what people were like talking about, or even if I was, like it's kind of uncomfortable when people talk about your body, so it's kind of like you're self-conscious about it. And even family, like they're like growing up, it was always like, oh, about your butt or something, like you have to cover it up because people are going to look at you. So I think I've always been kind of conscious about that, or like the way that I look.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so far we have two people mention hair, and one person as well mentioned their body. Now did you have like lots of problems with, as far as like, I know some people will kind of come up and do like the whole thing, like they grab your wrist, like, dang, you're so skinny and things like that, or they mention, was that a big problem, like that they're not trying to make you feel bad, but that's obviously something that you don't want to hear. Was that something that you encountered?
Even now, especially like since I've had a baby, like I've had somebody tell me, oh, you don't have a mom body. Or
what is that? What does that mean?
Right. I guess because I don't have like a lot of stretch marks. I don't really have any stretch marks on my stomach. But yeah, like I've had people tell me that I don't have a mom body, or like I don't look like I had a baby, or like I'm just really skinny. And I don't feel like I'm that skinny for people to comment on it, but it's like it kind of gets a little bit uncomfortable, because then I get to thinking like, well, if I don't have a mom body, does that make me like not like less of a mom or something because I don't look like one?
Mhm. Yeah, I've never heard that term before. I can see how it can definitely negatively affect you, but I've just never heard that term before of having a mom's body. I mean, because I mean, I see my mom and my mom, and
Yeah,
they're
your
slender
mom
people.
is still small. And
Yeah,
how many kids does she have? 4?
yeah.
Yeah, 4. My mom is really small.
Um, Corey, my sister Corey,
Yeah.
when she had her baby, she was real small, so I didn't see it. I know some women do hold on to their weight after having a child. I've just never encountered it as, but
And
same
even
thing.
before I had a baby, I kind of like felt like, oh my gosh, like I'm not gonna like look the same, or like people are gonna comment on it or make me feel comfortable about it, because I do know a lot of people that are around my age, or like that I went to school with, that just had babies, or they're having a baby, and they all, like, even one of my cousins just had a baby, and her baby is I think like 10 months now. And well, for me, I breastfed, so it like that helps with you losing weight after you have a baby.
That's
And
something I recently learned as well. I had no idea that was the case until you and Corey told me that.
yeah, so even then, like, our bodies look different, and so I feel like it's just like a big like we're kind of like judging ourselves because of what other people have put on it, like what you should look like as a mom.
As a woman, how important is your hair? Is there any more significance being a black woman?
Experience with their hair, but I do think for a black woman, like our like hair journey, at least in my own case, it does feel like it is more like significant, because for the longest time, like especially in our Western society, most of the stuff like products we have and things that were available, like salons and things, depending on where you lived, it was all like marketed towards like the more white demographic. So there wasn't a lot like out there for black women as far as like YouTube videos on here's how to do this if you don't know how. That wasn't until the last like 5 to 10 years or so. So prior to that, I think it was always like a struggle. And then you have like all of the stereotypes on black hair, and and people in the media who think like, oh, that's not your real hair, your hair can't grow that long or whatever, and people didn't know how to make it grow that long because they didn't have like the education on it. So I think that now the way like society is moving, with us having more like representation out there, more products, and like people becoming more educated on it, it does like that journey for your hair is pretty significant, at least to me as a black woman, like for sure. Yeah.
So for this, and this is this is not for me. I have a black wife, and or whatever she is. She's from some island somewhere that has dark skinned people on it. And my mother being black, many others. So I understand. But for the people that um, don't get it, and the people that say, well, it's just hair, so why does it have to be like a journey? Why can't it just be you learning how to take care of your hair? Why do many women describe it as being their hair journey?
I think because if you go from like generations of like your mom, your grandma, everyone, like they use the same exact hair products, they don't know that like that they can wear their natural hair out and make it look nice because they don't have the right stuff to put in it to do it that way. And then you have society giving you these like Eurocentric standards of beauty, and you're seeing women like everywhere that don't look like you with hair that's like this, which is not a problem. Like they look good in their own right, but that doesn't grow out of your scalp. So then you grow up seeing like the Disney princesses and none of them look like you, or like, different things. And you're like, well, do I not look good? Am I not like pretty? Like, what is good hair? So it has become a journey, especially now, like in the last 50 years, with there becoming more like of a fight for equality amongst like black people and everyone. So we're finally getting to see like more representation for ourselves. And that's why it's been a journey. Because if you go for like generations of not knowing what to do with it, and now we're just starting to discover it. And I think for a lot of people who they've never had that problem because they don't have our hair, their hair is, it's different, a lot easier to maintain, and they've always had like the resources to do that. But for us, like, we're just learning this stuff. So it's a journey. So I think that's the biggest difference. And like our hair is very versatile. So it's not just like you just take a shower and you could just have it like stringy and pin straight. I mean, your hair can be coarse and curly. You can blow it out, you can straighten it, you can do so much with it, but you have to learn how to do it because we weren't taught that, because our parents weren't taught that, because they, that's not how society was marketed. So yeah, it's a journey for us. It's just different.
For me now, it's more about whether I'm taking care of it and if it's healthy or not. I'm not so much worried about if it's looking like someone else's, or if it's a certain length, or if it's like straight enough or a different texture. I just want it to be healthy. So whether I have hair, a lot of it, or if I have if I have none of it, it's not that serious anymore. But now that I do have it, like as I have right now, I want it to look taken care of. I want it to be healthy. But if it, say, were to fall out, or if I were to lose it, it wouldn't be as detrimental as it would have been years ago.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say that, as far as anymore, or years ago, before it was a huge thing for you?
Mm-hmm. Because like you'd hear jokes about, oh, you're bald headed, or like if your hair is just the tiniest bit too short, like you were bald. So I'm like, what if I was actually bald? Like, I don't want to be like that. Like, if I was sick or something, that's different. But if I made a choice to just cut it all off, it was like, I can't do that to my hair. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if it's because I'm in hair, so I've seen so much, and I've seen how people can think they're going to look a certain way and it's going to look terrible, and then they commit to it and then they're shocked because it actually looks good. And then me trying it and be like, oh, it's not terrible. But it's a process. It didn't just all of a sudden start like that.
I got you.
I think that for Black girls as well, that having shorter hair is the only time for Black girls anyway that you get like, oh, you're bald head, because when you have short hair, I guess it's like Black girls are not expected to have longer hair, and so you kind of get like made fun of about it if you don't have a certain length of hair, or if your hair is just a little bit shorter than usual. Then you kind of get teased about it. So I think for me, that's kind of what made me like when I had to like cut my hair off, that it made me like feel a certain type of way, because I felt like people were gonna like say something, or like I was gonna feel some type of way because I was straightening my hair like every week before my hair fell out. So it like kind of was like a little bit different, because you kind of get this perception just because people are always like, oh, she's bald, such and such is bald head, and or like her hair, or Black girls, their hair doesn't grow, because once I did start like regrowing my hair grew really fast, and like I had like my hair got really big, and people were like making like little comments, and it wasn't like from Black people, but like I have a friend who's mixed, and like I guess her mom growing up, her mom is white, and her mom growing up kind of like told her like, oh, you can't cut your hair because she's mixed, and her hair is like never going to grow back. So she was never allowed to cut her hair, and her hair is it's not like a thicker texture. It's pretty fine. So it's the type of hair that usually grows back fast. Yeah. And like I kind of got offended when she told me that, because my hair was growing, and she's like, oh, I can't cut my hair because my hair is not going to go back. And like she kind of like agreed with it, like, oh, Black girls' hair doesn't grow. And so I feel like for a lot of Black girls, you get kind of, I guess, discouraged about your hair because people make comments like that. Or even like I've been to like a doctor's office or something, and like I got a scan done before, and I had my hair like in a puff, and it was really big, and she's like, oh, do you have a hair piece in? Because like I had to take, you weren't allowed to like have like metal inside of the machine. The MRI machine, yeah. Yeah, so she's like, oh, do you have a hair piece in? Like thinking like my hair was like pinned down with bobby pins or something. And I was like, no. what do you mean? And she's like, oh, I was just trying to make sure like you didn't have any like scrunchies or bobby pins in. Um, that's all your hair, right? And I'm like, yeah. So you kind of get uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about hearing comments like that about whether or not that's your hair or the hair not growing. People that are very ignorant to the length of the shrinkage and things like that that come along with having very thick or coarse or coily hair, whatever kind of gray hair you may have. Um, when it comes to like straightening your hair, I know Omni, when I first met you, it's been a while. Yeah, I think it's been like 6 years, 5 years. I think when I first met you, you had straight hair.
Hmm.
So for the two of you, and I'll start with Omni, and I'll go back to Maya. Like the European style, the white style of wearing your hair very straight. I know, for my example, my wife, she didn't know until she got not like teenage years, but until she got like earlier in her youth, like maybe 8, 9, 10. She didn't know that her hair was curly, that grew out of her head, because she always had straight hair. And for me, that concept was baffling. Like, how do you know that? Because my hair grows out of my head, curly and nappy, and however you may want to describe it. But for many people, that may be the case because you're always getting your hair straightened because you say, well, this is how your hair is supposed to look. And saying stuff like that, saying that, well, this is how your hair is supposed to look, can make you feel bad because, like, well, this is just how I am. This is just how my hair grows out of my head. So how I am naturally is not a good thing. Um, was it a lot of pressure, a lot of feelings, as uncertain feelings when it going from your straight hair to having curly hair, natural hair, or was it something that you were happy about doing and that was just good overall, Omni?
Like when I like chopped it for the first time, like to
Yeah.
go natural. Yeah. I cut it off for the first time because it was so damaged. I was straightening it all the time. I had a relaxer on it. I had color on it, and it was just so split. So I cut it all off to where it was natural, and it was like I can't straighten it right now. It just kind of it doesn't work out. So it was a process being able to be like, well, it's okay that it's like this because when I was growing up, my hair was not curly, it was nappy. So it wasn't until I cut it off that I was like, oh, I actually have curls. Like I can put some product in it and it actually looks good. It doesn't look bad. But it took a minute and it was scary going out like that for the first few times and preparing myself for how am I going to answer if someone says something to me? What am I going to say? I got to say something to like choke them up, like trying to think of how I'm going to defend myself. But it was a little scary.
Did it have a good effect on your self-esteem, or did it have not too much of a difference for you?
It did. It forced me to accept what I was given. It was a lot of faking it at first and just saying like, oh, it looks pretty, it looks fine, nothing's wrong with it. You just have a different perspective of what you think my hair should look like. Um, but it did help me to realize that like your hair is pretty when you straighten it, and it's pretty when you have it in its natural state.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And Maya, so for you, I know that your hair loss was due to factors that you couldn't really control. But when you did have to go through that process of going to your curly hair, did you have feelings like, man, I can't wait till my hair gets longer so I can straighten it back again? Or did you kind of grow to accept it, to really enjoy your hair? I see you now, you have curly hair all the time, except for, at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it was, for me, it was really just about the learning curve of learning how to do my hair and it being curly, because I did get relaxers up until that point. Like I think I got relaxers up until maybe 8th grade, but then I was just straightening my hair. Like it wasn't curly at all. And I didn't know that I had curly hair.
Mm-hmm.
I just like and not even like my hair was always like kind of like shoulder length, but it just wasn't curly because I always relaxed it and straightened it. And so even my mom, she didn't like, her curls were not what they are now. She would like straighten her hair, colored her hair. Not, it wasn't damaged, but she just never wore her hair in its natural state. So she didn't know how to do my hair, and she didn't know what to tell me either. So it's kind of like a learning curve of me feeling comfortable with it because I didn't know what to do with it.
So, real quick, I want to cut you off real quick. So it's to ask the question so I can understand. So the way that your hair without your braids is like curly and kind of like the little poof afro, like down to here. So you up to that point, you had never seen your hair like that before at all. So
No.
that's just something interesting for me, even for Kayla when she tells me things like that, because it's really amazing to me, or interesting to me, that certain ideas of what a person should look like can be kind of nailed in so deeply to where you don't know what your natural self may look like because you've been doing something for so long. Versus, I mean, I know what my hair looks like when I have absolutely no hair. I know what I look like when I have an afro. I've never had braids before, but anything like that. But that's something interesting. I know that probably more so now that girls growing up, younger women do see themselves all the time with natural hair without having relaxers and having their hair constantly straightened. Do you prefer it this way? Do you miss having your hair having relaxer or having it straight all the time, or do you just like the way it is now?
I mean, I like the way it is now, but sometimes I am like, dang, I wish my hair was a little bit more easy to manage, because now versus when I was straightening my hair, it takes like an hour and a half longer. And I can't just throw my hair in a ponytail or like just do like little, going back to like what people think about your natural hair. Like people are always like, oh, I like girls that have like messy buns, and my hair does not do that. Like I don't have hair that I can just throw in a ponytail or that I can just like let fly. Like, or people will make comments like, oh, why does your hair look like that? Or you didn't do anything to your hair today. And so that it kind of like gets a little bit like, oh, I wish I was still straightening my hair because I would be able to do a lot more with it, or I wouldn't have to do too much to it. So it's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing, because I like my hair curly, and I feel like it's kind of more my personality than me having straight hair all the time. But it definitely was a lot easier to deal with when it was straightened.
Mm-hmm. I know I ran into a problem yesterday. Kayla got upset with me because I got her. She had straightened her hair, and of course she had it straightened, getting ready for Sunday, just so it could be more neat or whatever. Because she has her hair natural right now for the past few years. But long story short, she got really pissed with me because I got her hair really wet, and she was just looking at it and say, "You don't see the problem with my haircut? Now I have to get it ready for the meeting on Sunday and everything." I was like, "I don't see the problem. It looks nice. You can't like comb it." She was like, "No, that's not gonna work." So for me, even being a black man and having black women around me, certain things for me are still just completely lost. I just don't see the problem. But I know a lot of times you hear people that say have good hair, they have straight hair, or they have good hair, it's very easy to manage. So I can see the problems that come along with that. I got you. And I appreciate that explanation. I think that should help a lot of people.
I think with a lot of people, it's okay to say that like you don't relate to it and that you're like, a lot of people never will. But I think it's just like acknowledging that people go through different journeys with you. That's all like most of us are just asking for. Just acknowledge that like we are not the same and we're going through two different journeys. Like you're not going to relate, and that's fine. Like I don't expect you to, but don't act like ignorant to it, like you can't be, not with like the way society and like the media is in all of our faces and people are sharing their stories. Like at this point, if you act like you don't know about it, it's you choosing to like remain ignorant to it, I think.
Talking to your younger self, what's one thing you would want to explain about self-esteem and self-image?
Going through this whole discussion on how we see ourselves, how other people see us, and all the different things that affect that. If you could go back to your younger self at any point in time, what's one thing that you could say to your younger self that you wanted to really hammer home and drive the point home on?
Recently, I heard someone say the quote that I am me and you are you. So don't compare yourself to other people. Like you're never be them. They're never going to be you. Just appreciate what you have and who you are right now, and respect yourself how you are right now. So it'll be easier when you're an adult, it'll come natural, and it'll also be easier to help others to feel the same way. So just really to love myself and not let it be conditional or compare myself to anyone else. And that will decide whether I'm worthy enough to be respected or to be loved.
And mine, if you could go back to your younger self at any point in time, and you wanted to really hammer home a certain point, certain piece of advice, what would you have to say?
So like I was saying about like me changing what I see on social media, looking at other moms like about their post, or like I follow like a psychology page that's focuses on like postpartum feelings, and they kind of like really like emphasize that it's okay to feel these feelings that you're feeling because they're all normal. And I wish that even when I was younger, without being a mom, like years ago, I wish that I like kind of knew or had the advice that it's okay to feel everything that you're feeling. Like I wouldn't change anything that I did because that's all normal. It's normal to feel jealousy. It's normal to feel sad. Anything that you're feeling, someone else is feeling too, and that's okay.
Like we talked about, there being 3 different types of people. Not everybody is like that. And I think if you, at the end of the day, are confident with yourself, you're like, no, I'm wearing this shirt because I like it. I don't care if everybody else isn't or whatever. You have that your own like self-confidence, and you like the way you look, you're solid with yourself, and you project that. Other people are going to be like, they pick up on that. So like you could have a bad hair day, but if you are rocking it and you're like, nope, I like it, then other people, they notice your confidence and they're just like, okay, I guess I like it too. But if you act like unconfident about something, that makes you more susceptible, unfortunately, for people to bring in negativity. But I would tell my younger self, just, develop your own self-confidence and learn to appreciate yourself and just project that, because that's how people will perceive you.